Last weekend, I went to Kansas City, Missouri for the NFL AFC Championship Game. And while I was there, I decided that I was gonna try to send every dyno in the entire city. Now, I was pretty worried, not about the challenge or the dynos, but about safely making it into Kansas City in the first place. Ben said I could wear his Bengals outfit to Kansas City. The only stipulation was I had to wear it in the airport. I was also really worried about the plane crashing, not like because I'm scared of planes crashing in general, more because I didn't really want to die in a Bengals onesie. Just imagining like some cornfield out in the Midwest with just plane parts scattered everywhere, bodies like riddling the field, and then just like my mangled corpse in a Bengals onesie like hanging from a turbine, and like the rescue team shows up and I'm like still barely alive. And they're like, "We got one alive over here." And all I ask is, did we win? Now, once I safely entered the city, it was time to pick the gyms I wanted to go to. Now, initially I wanted to go to every single gym, but it turns out that Kansas City has a ton of rock climbing gyms. I didn't know it was that popular there. So I just decided to go with 3 of the higher rated gyms in the city and a little bit of my own personal preference. So I dragged my little brother along and we went to the first gym, Rokc Underground. And when they say this gym is underground, they're not kidding. You have to take an elevator through the Earth's crust just to get to this gym. After doing some research, I found that this facility is mostly used for containing any extraterrestrials found in Kansas City, but they also happen to have a bouldering gym on location. So after finding the bouldering gym in this absolute maze of a facility, I did a little bit of a warm-up and tested out some of the setting. But you guys aren't here to see static climbing, you're here to see the dynos. So I went to the front desk and asked where the dynos were. So it was time to start my first dyno, which was a V4 V5. Kansas City, you can do better than this. There's hardly even a dyno. At this point, I was really just hoping that there'd be at least one real dyno in the gym. So I moved on to dyno number 2, which was another V4 V5. My confidence in the dyno scene of Kansas City was at an all-time low right here. I was really concerned in your abilities to win an AFC Championship if this is the best dynoing you guys have to offer. But then I found dyno number 3. Now this was a real dyno. I was pretty excited. Kansas City seemed to actually know what a dyno was, and not only that, but this was the coolest dyno in the gym by far. This is just an awesome dyno, probably one of my favorite dynos I've done at any bouldering gym. But now it was time to move up in difficulty to dyno number 4, which was a V6 V7 dyno. And on this dyno, Kansas City really came out to play. I probably spent a solid 30 minutes working on this dyno, and I definitely wasn't getting frustrated at all. But I knew that the Bengals were counting on me, and their chances in the AFC Championship were really dependent on how many of these dynos I could do. So I took a minute to collect myself, and I remembered what Sensei Magnus said, always brush the holds. So after a quick brushing session, I decided to give it one more go. I had definitely underestimated how hard the top section would be. I wanted to blame the rental shoes, but you know, if you look at the foothold I was using here, it probably wasn't really an issue of the shoes. But I didn't really have time to do the whole thing again. And I had already done the dyno. Who cares about sending boulders? That's not what we're here to do. We're here to send dynos. So I moved on to dyno number 5, which was a V7 V8 dyno. This dyno was definitely a tricky one. I started off by trying to jump out with my right arm and post with my left, because that seemed like the intuitive way to do it. But after climbing up and testing each position, I found that it was actually much easier to hold with your left arm and posting with your right. So I gave it a few more goes, and I had a couple that were pretty close. But eventually I realized I just wasn't gonna be able to get it in this session, and I needed to save my energy for the other gyms. So I had to take the L and go 4 for 5 on dynos. Now I was a little disappointed. This gym didn't have any climbing on the actual rock, which to me seemed like the whole point of having a gym underground. So I made sure I'd get the last laugh before I left by sending one more dyno.
Yeah, you ready?
You're an idiot.
The next gym was Sequence Climbing. This was without a doubt the most beautiful rock climbing gym I've ever been to. Not only did it have zero sport climbing, it was just all bouldering, which you can't get more beautiful than that. But it was also massive and just had a really aesthetically pleasing theme to the whole place. And really quick, I just wanted to say that at this gym, the blue volumes are in on every boulder. Just thought I'd let you guys know that before, you know, people started bitching in the comments about me using the blue volumes that aren't in. They're in for every boulder. I asked at the front desk because there were some boulders that seemed physically impossible to me until I found out that the volumes were in. Now the first dyno was a bit of a bust. It was a V4 V5 dyno, and it definitely was not set with the intention of the climber having a 6'5" wingspan, so I was able to static it. I could have gone back and done the actual dyno, but you know, if the dyno can be static, it's not a real dyno. But the second dyno is really where things got interesting. I loved this dyno. I've actually never seen an off the mat step up dyno set before. I've done them myself, but this was the first one I've ever actually done. And I thought this one was funny because there was chalk all over the first hold and then virtually no chalk on the rest of the boulder, telling me that people were either just doing the dyno and then jumping off because they thought it was fun, or that there were some fellow dynoists out there whose dyno grade is a little bit higher than their actual climbing grade. And now for the third dyno. This was easily my favorite dyno in this gym. It was pretty much the exact same as the previous dyno, but instead of running up to the wall, you had to actually start in a kind of crunched undercling position. Now these are both graded the same at V4, V5, but this one was definitely significantly harder, especially the follow-up section after the dyno. But I thought this was set so well, and I also thought it was funny that this one, like the previous one, had no chalk on any of the holds after the actual dyno. Now the next one's not really a dyno, but I just thought it was a really cool boulder and I wanted to throw it in there. This was a V4, V5 campus boulder, and after I failed the first time, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to leave until I sent it. Now it was time for the final dyno at this gym, dyno number 5, which was V6, V7. And this one proved very difficult for me. Not only have I never done a dyno like this where you have to kick your foot out to stop your momentum, but it was also on like a 30-degree overhang, which made pulling into it really difficult. But I refused to fail on dyno number 5, just like I did at the last gym. So it was time for my redemption. So I nailed the dyno, fell at the top just like before, only this time, I will blame the rental shoes. Look at this foot chip and tell me you could do this move in rental shoes. If we enhance it with high-tech technology, you can really see just how bad this foot really is. So I had officially sent 9 out of the 10 dynos so far in Kansas City, and there was only one gym left to go to before my journey came to an end. The third and final gym that I went to was Ibex Climbing, which has this fun little intro that says like, "Be Ibex Climbing." And boy howdy, whoever made this gym really liked ibexes. There are ibexes painted all over the walls. There's like a little infographic about where ibexes come from. And I found this a little bit confusing because, like, you know, I get it, ibexes climb, they're known for that. And yeah, they're really good at slab. But have you ever seen an ibex climb overhang? It's not really the animal I would choose to represent rock climbing, which is why I've decided to move to Kansas City and open up my own bouldering gym to compete with Ibex. And our motto will be Harambe Bouldering. Now, when I went to the front desk to ask about the dynos, it was the first time that an employee actually knew where all the dynos were. And this makes a lot of sense because they only had one dyno set at the gym and it was a V2. Now, I would have been disappointed about this because I just paid for an Uber out there and then paid for a day pass just for one dyno, but I could barely walk at this point. I've been climbing for hours, so I really didn't mind that there was only one boulder for me to do. But I still wanted to get my money's worth, and they did have one thing that I had never tried before. A tread wall. And I found out that at a speed of 5, the tread wall is actually really fun, and you can climb on it really as long as you want to until you get pumped out, and it's probably a pretty cool way to train. On the flip side, at a speed of 10, the tread wall feels more like you're about to enter a Final Destination movie. So that was all 3 gyms in Kansas City that I tried. I got 10 out of the 11 dynos, and after a good night's sleep, I got ready for the AFC Championship Game. We had a massive tailgate party for the Bengals, and after the tailgate, when we got seated in our section for the game, we were like the only Bengals fans in the entire section. It was all Chiefs fans, but thankfully, everybody was super cool. Like, some of the nicest people I've ever met were sitting around us, and it was really fun to just chill and watch the game with them. That being said, there were definitely some not so nice people at the game. But it was a really good game. I had a great time, met some cool people. We weren't quite able to stop the Chiefs on 5th down, which I think is something, you know, the Bengals need to work on in the future. But besides that, it was a great time. I had a blast in Kansas City, and I can't wait to go back to get 11 out of 11 dynos next time.